Perhaps there is one memory you return to more than any other, a choice you made years ago that still sits heavily whenever the world grows quiet. You are not alone in carrying this, and more importantly, the Buddhist tradition has never taught that such a stone must be carried forever. Welcome to Mindfulness, where we explore old questions with fresh honesty, free from empty positivity. In the next few minutes, we will walk through 8 teachings on karma, each one drawn from authentic Buddhist understanding, showing how the weight of the past can be examined, understood, and gradually set down. This is not about forgetting what happened. It is about finally learning what karma actually asks of you, and discovering that transformation is still possible, even now, even after 60. 1. Karma is not punishment, it is pattern. Many people spend their later years believing that karma is a kind of cosmic scorekeeping, a ledger where every mistake is eventually repaid with suffering. This belief, though common, is not what the teaching actually says. Karma, or kamma, simply means action, and more precisely, it means intentional action. It is not a judge sitting somewhere deciding your fate. It is closer to a pattern, the way a river carves its path based on where the water has flowed before. When you understand karma this way, something shifts. The hardship you may be facing now is not proof that you are being punished for who you were. It is simply the current shape of a much longer flow, one that includes not only your past actions, but the actions of this very moment. This means the story is not finished. A person who spent decades reacting in anger can, in this very hour, choose a response rooted in patience, and that single choice begins to carve a new direction in the water. The teaching does not ask you to deny your past mistakes. It asks you to see them clearly, without the added suffering of believing you are permanently defined by them. Your character at 18 is not the same river as your character at 60. The water has moved. New choices have joined the stream. If you are carrying guilt today, try holding it a little differently. Not as a life sentence, but as information. The mind that made those choices decades ago was working with less understanding, less patience, perhaps more fear. The mind you have now, seasoned by time, has more capacity to choose wisely. That capacity itself is a kind of grace, one that karma allows for, precisely because it is not fixed. 2. Every moment is a new seed. In Buddhist teaching, actions are often compared to seeds. A seed planted with a wholesome intention, one rooted in generosity, patience, or honesty, tends to grow into an experience of ease. A seed planted with an unwholesome intention, one rooted in anger, greed, or dishonesty, tends to grow into future difficulty. This is not superstition. It reflects something observable. Harsh words spoken in anger tend to damage relationships that then become sources of loneliness. Acts of generosity tend to build trust that later returns as support. What matters most for someone in their 60s or beyond is this: the field where seeds are planted is not closed. It is open in every single moment you are still breathing. If you spent 40 years planting seeds of impatience, this does not mean the field is exhausted. It means the field has more of one kind of growth than another right now. But you can still plant. Today, this afternoon. In the next conversation you have with your child, your neighbor, your spouse. A single moment of genuine kindness offered late in life is not erased by decades of past harshness. It is a new seed, placed in the same soil, growing alongside the old ones. Over time, if tended with sincerity, new growth can become the dominant landscape. This is why the tradition places such emphasis on the present intention behind each action, rather than dwelling endlessly on actions already completed. You cannot replant yesterday, but you have not run out of soil and you have not run out of seeds. As long as awareness and intention are present, so is the possibility of a different harvest. 3. The self that regrets is not the self that acted. One of the deepest teachings in the Buddhist tradition is the idea that there is no fixed, unchanging self moving through time. What we call I is actually a constantly shifting process, made of thoughts, sensations, memories, and awareness, arising and passing in every moment. This can sound abstract, but it holds something quietly freeing for anyone carrying regret. The person who made that painful decision 30 years ago was not, in any solid sense, the same person sitting here today. The cells of your body have entirely renewed themselves many times over. Your understanding of the world has deepened. Your priorities have likely reordered completely. And yet, the mind has a habit of gathering all these different versions of you into one solid character and then blaming that character endlessly for actions taken by an earlier, less aware version of the process. This is not an excuse to dismiss responsibility. Responsibility still matters because the effects of past actions still ripple outward. But the suffering of regret often comes from a deeper error, believing that a fixed, permanent you committed a fixed, permanent wrong and must carry that wrongness forever. When you loosen your grip on this idea of a solid, unchanging self, you can hold the past more like a chapter you have read, rather than a cage you are still locked inside. The story continues. The next page has not been written yet, and the one holding the pen is not the same hand that wrote the earlier chapters, though it remembers them and can choose to write differently now. 4. Loving kindness includes the one who erred. Metta, often translated as loving kindness, is a practice traditionally extended outward, first toward oneself, then toward loved ones, then gradually toward all beings, including those who are difficult. Many people in their later years find it far easier to extend this warmth toward others than toward the version of themselves who made painful mistakes decades ago. There is often an unspoken belief that self-kindness must be earned through some kind of perfect record, and since the record includes real errors, kindness feels undeserved. But the traditional teaching does not place this condition on metta. It is not reserved for those who behaved flawlessly. It is offered because all beings, without exception, are subject to confusion, fear, and the causes that lead to unskillful action. This includes the person you were at 25 or 40 or 50, acting from whatever limited understanding they had at the time. Extending loving kindness toward that earlier self is not the same as excusing harmful actions. It is recognizing that the person who caused harm was also, in some way, suffering, acting from ignorance or pain rather than from clarity. When you can hold that earlier self with the same warmth you might offer a struggling stranger, something in the chest loosens. The tightness that regret has held for years begins to soften. not because the past has changed, but because your relationship to it has become less hostile. This softened relationship does not weaken your commitment to acting better now. If anything, it strengthens it, because a mind at ease is far more capable of wise, considered action than a mind still at war with its own history. 5. Naming the wrong without drowning in it. There is an old practice within Buddhist monastic life of gathering periodically to openly acknowledge where one has fallen short of one's intentions and precepts. This is not a ritual of shame. It is a ritual of honesty, done in community, so that unskillful actions are named plainly rather than buried or denied. This same spirit can be brought into ordinary life, especially in later years when so many actions from the past sit quietly unexamined. There is a difference between guilt that paralyzes and honesty that clarifies. Guilt often keeps you circling the same memory without resolution, replaying it, punishing yourself with it, yet never actually completing anything. Honest acknowledgement does something different. It names the action specifically. Perhaps you were absent when someone needed you. Perhaps you spoke cruelly out of your own pain. Naming it clearly, without softening it and without exaggerating it beyond what happened, allows the mind to stop circling and start settling. Where possible, this acknowledgement can be spoken directly to the person affected, if they are still living and willing to hear it. Where this is not possible, it can still be spoken honestly to yourself, perhaps in quiet reflection or in writing, allowing the truth to be witnessed rather than hidden. This act does not undo the original harm, but it changes your relationship to it. Instead of an old wound reopening every time the memory surfaces, it becomes something that has already been faced, already named, already understood. In the Buddhist view, this kind of clear seeing is itself a wholesome action, a seed of honesty planted in a field that regret had kept dark for far too long. 6. Intention is where karma actually lives. A central teaching in the tradition holds that karma is fundamentally about intention. The Buddha is recorded as having taught that it is intention itself that constitutes the action in a karmic sense, more than the outward result alone. This distinction matters enormously for anyone reflecting on their past. Two people might perform the same outward act, yet carry entirely different karmic weight, because their intentions differed. Someone who gave money to appear generous in front of others carries a different intention than someone who gave quietly because they genuinely wished to ease another's hardship. When you look back at your own life, it can help to ask not simply what you did, but what you intended in each moment. Sometimes you will find that even actions with painful outcomes were not born from cruelty, but from fear, exhaustion, or simply not knowing a better way at the time. This does not erase the outcome, but it changes the karmic reading of the moment, because the tradition places real weight on the quality of mind behind the deed. Equally, this teaching calls you to examine your intentions now in this present chapter of life, since these are the intentions actively shaping what comes next. A person who spends their later years intending well, even while imperfect in execution, is planting a fundamentally different kind of seed than one who intends carelessly. This is, in many ways, encouraging news for someone who feels their best years for action have passed. Karmic weight is not measured only in grand achievements. It is measured moment by moment in the quality of intention you bring to whatever remains of your ordinary day. 7. Aging as the original teacher. Long before it became a subject for philosophy, aging itself was treated in the earliest Buddhist accounts as one of the great teachers of existence, alongside sickness and death. Encountering the reality of growing old is described as one of the pivotal experiences that turned the path of the Buddha's own life toward deep spiritual inquiry. This suggests something important. Aging was never meant to be avoided, denied, or grieved as pure loss. It was meant to be looked at directly as a teacher of impermanence, anicca, the truth that nothing which arises remains unchanged. Your body today is not the body of your youth. Your relationships have shifted, your certainties have loosened, and this is not a personal failure. It is simply what it means to be a living, changing process moving through time. This is worth sitting with slowly, because so much of the discomfort we associate with aging does not come from aging itself, but from our resistance to it. We compare the present body to a remembered one, the present pace of life to a remembered speed, the present quiet to a remembered fullness. And in that comparison, suffering is manufactured that the moment itself did not actually contain. Many people resist this teaching, wishing to hold on to an earlier version of themselves, their health, their status, their old certainties, and this resistance is often where suffering intensifies far more than aging itself does. The teaching does not ask you to pretend aging is pleasant in every way. Physical discomfort is real. Loss is real. It asks you instead to see aging honestly as confirmation of something true about all conditioned existence, rather than as a unique injustice happening only to you. Every being that has ever lived and grown old has walked through this same doorway. In this sense, aging is not a private misfortune. It is a shared inheritance of anything born into form. When you stop resisting the fact of change, a strange relief can settle in. You are no longer fighting a battle you were never going to win. Instead, you can ask a more useful question. Given that this body and this life are impermanent, how do I wish to use the time that remains? This question, asked sincerely, tends to reorganize priorities quickly. Old grievances lose some of their grip. Reconciliation starts to feel more urgent than being right. Quiet, wholesome actions start to matter more than accumulation. There is also a subtler gift hidden in this stage of life, one easily overlooked. The slowing down that often accompanies aging, the reduced pace, the quieter days, is not only loss. It also removes some of the noise that made clear reflection difficult in busier years. Many people find that only in these later years do they finally have the stillness required to look honestly at their own mind, something the demands of earlier life left little room for. In this way, aging, rather than being only a decline, becomes exactly what the earliest teachings suggested it could be. A doorway into clearer seeing if you are willing to walk through it with open eyes rather than turned away in denial. The very years that feel like they are taking something from you may also be quietly offering something you were never given the space to receive before. An unhurried opportunity to finally understand your own life. 8. The mind at the final moment. Within the Buddhist tradition, the quality of mind present at the end of life is given real significance, since the mental state in one's final moments is understood to shape what follows. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to focus your attention on something genuinely within your influence. If the last years, months, or even hours of a life can be met with a mind that is settled, honest, and unburdened by unresolved bitterness, this itself is a meaningful karmic action, one available to you regardless of how earlier decades were lived. This is why the practices described earlier in this reflection are not separate from this final teaching. They lead directly to it. Understanding karma as pattern rather than punishment, recognizing the self as ever-changing rather than fixed, planting new seeds of intention, naming past wrongs honestly, extending loving kindness even to the self who erred, and attending closely to present intention, all of these gradually clear space in the mind. They remove the debris of unexamined guilt so that what remains has room to settle into something quieter. It can help to think of this preparation not as a single task to complete, but as a direction to keep facing. Just as a river does not need to reach the ocean all at once, but simply needs to keep flowing in that general direction, a mind does not need to become perfectly peaceful today. It only needs to keep turning gently and repeatedly away from bitterness and toward clarity. Each small act of honesty with yourself, each moment of releasing an old grievance, each quiet kindness extended instead of withheld, is a turn of the current in that direction. You do not need to resolve every relationship from your past to die at peace, though where possible, reconciliation is a profound gift both to yourself and to those you loved imperfectly. Some relationships cannot be repaired, whether because the other person is no longer living or because they are unwilling, and this too can be met without added self-punishment. What matters most, according to the tradition, is not that every outward account is settled, but that the inward account, the relationship you hold with your own conscience, has been faced honestly rather than avoided. What you can do, starting today, is begin releasing the habit of rehearsing old wrongs as though they were unfinished business, demanding endless replay. Each time you notice this rehearsal beginning, you can gently return attention to the present intention available right now, this conversation, this breath, this small kindness. Over months and years, this steady redirection becomes its own quiet practice, one that shapes not only how these remaining years are lived, but potentially, according to the tradition, how this life concludes and what continues beyond it. There is no need to rush this. There is no deadline that demands you finish today. There is only the next moment, offered gently, in which you may choose once again with whatever wisdom this long life has given you. If any part of this reflection touched something in you, let it settle quietly rather than rushing away from it. Regret does not need to be your permanent companion. It can become, gently, a teacher that led you toward a clearer, kinder way of living out your remaining years. If these teachings brought you a little peace today, consider subscribing so more reflections like this one can find you when you need them. Thank you for spending this quiet time here. May you walk the rest of your path a little lighter than before.